Why does one man earn more every year and still remain one step away from financial trouble? Why does another man receive a smaller income, live without display, and quietly build security while the higher earner continues borrowing, worrying, and waiting for the next payment? The answer is not always found in the amount of money they receive. It is found in what happens inside the mind before the money is spent. One man gives money a purpose. The other gives it permission. One commands his income. The other allows appetite, pride, fear, and impatience to divide it before wisdom has spoken. Look honestly at your own condition. Does money remain with you long enough to build anything? Or does it arrive, create a brief feeling of relief, and then disappear into obligations, pleasures, favors, and purchases that leave no lasting strength behind? Do not answer according to what you intend to do someday. Answer according to what your money has actually been doing. A man may increase his income without increasing his financial power. He may earn twice as much as he earned 5 years ago and still possess no reserve, no productive capital, and no freedom from anxiety. His surroundings may improve, but his dependence becomes greater. His expenses rise to meet every increase. He does not become richer. He merely becomes responsible for maintaining a more costly life. This is the first truth you must accept. More money does not correct undisciplined habits. It gives them more room. If a man wastes 10 coins carelessly, he will not automatically become wise when given 100. He may simply waste on a larger scale. If he spends to impress others while his income is small, a larger income may provide him with more expensive ways to seek approval. If he borrows because he cannot wait, greater earnings may qualify him for larger obligations. If he refuses to keep an account, more money will create more confusion, not greater control. Do not blame the size of the stream until you have examined the condition of the vessel. A broken vessel cannot be filled by pouring faster. Repair the openings first. The first opening is the absence of a definite purpose for money. Most people possess desires, but very few possess a financial purpose strong enough to govern those desires. They say they want prosperity, freedom, security, or wealth. Yet they cannot state how much must be preserved, which debt must be removed first, what productive aim they are building toward, or what portion of income belongs to the future. Their wishes are vague, while temptation is specific. A merchant offers an attractive object. A companion proposes an evening of pleasure. A relative requests money. A new obligation appears possible. Each demand is visible and immediate. The future remains distant and undefined. Therefore, the present desire wins. Give your money a definite task before it enters your hands. Decide what must support the household, what must meet honest obligations, what must be preserved, what must increase your earning ability, what may be invested, what may be enjoyed, and what may be given in service. The proportions may change, but the command must exist. Do not say, "I hope to save something." Hope is not an order. Say this portion belongs to reserve and it will not be touched for ordinary desire. Do not say, "I would like to remove debt." Name the debt, the amount, and the plan. Do not say, "One day I will invest." Decide what knowledge must be gained and what capital must be accumulated before action begins. Definitesse gives money direction. Without it, income becomes a crowd without leadership. The second opening is emotional spending. Why do you spend when you are discouraged? Why does disappointment make a purchase appear more attractive? Why does success make restraint seem unnecessary? Because many people use money to change their feelings. They do not purchase only the object. They purchase relief, recognition, comfort, excitement, revenge, or the appearance of importance. A man feels overlooked, so he buys something that will be noticed. He feels exhausted, so he rewards himself beyond reason. He sees another man's success, feels inferior, and spends to restore pride. He receives a profitable payment and celebrates before the profit has strengthened anything. In each case, emotion gives the order and money obeys. The feeling fades, the cost remains. An object may provide pleasure, but it cannot cure insecurity. A grand display may attract attention, but it cannot create self-respect. Entertainment may interrupt worry for an evening, but it cannot remove the cause of disorder. If debt was used, the man has purchased a temporary feeling with future labor. Before spending, ask, "What feeling am I trying to buy?" Do not avoid the question. It may save you from years of repeated weakness. Perhaps the purchase is useful and properly planned. Then, make it without guilt. But perhaps you are trying to prove that you have succeeded. Perhaps you are trying to silence envy. Perhaps you are buying an hour of escape from a problem that requires action rather than expense. A man becomes financially strong when he stops allowing every emotion access to the purse. The third opening is the desire to look prosperous. Some people do not purchase for themselves. They purchase for an audience. They want the neighbor to notice, the visitor to admire, the companion to approve, and the critic to become silent. They spend money to create an impression upon people who will never help carry the cost. This is a poor bargain. The audience enjoys the appearance. The owner receives the obligation. The observer sees the fine coat, the large house, the grand entertainment, or the impressive possession. He does not see the unpaid account, the empty reserve, the fear of a slow month, or the pressure placed upon future earnings. Ask yourself, would I still want this if no other person knew I possessed it? That question exposes vanity quickly. If the desire remains because the object is useful, beautiful, durable, or sincerely enjoyed, the purchase may be sound. But if the attraction disappears when the audience is removed, you may be buying approval rather than value. Approval purchased through display must be purchased repeatedly. There is always another man with more. Another house will be larger. Another coat will be finer. Another celebration will be grander. Comparison has no finish line, and the man who allows comparison to command his money will never feel that he has enough. A secure man may possess fine things, but he does not require them to defend his worth. His possessions serve him. He does not serve the impression they create. The fourth opening is the belief that increased income is permanent. A man receives a raise and immediately enlarges his expenses. A merchant enjoys a profitable season and creates new personal obligations. A worker receives an extra payment and bills recurring costs upon temporary money. He assumes that because income has risen, stability has arrived. Income can rise in one day. Stability cannot. Stability is built through time, reserve, reduced debt, productive skill, sound ownership, and control living. A favorable month is not a promise from the future. A promotion is not protection against changing conditions. A strong season does not abolish weak seasons. When income rises, do not ask first, what can I now afford? Ask, what weakness can this increase remove? Can it reduce costly debt? Can it build a reserve? Can it repair neglected property before a larger expense appears? Can it improve tools, health, education, or earning capacity? Can it establish capital for a definite enterprise? Let the foundation become stronger before the visible life becomes larger. This does not mean you must reject every comfort. There is no virtue in unnecessary hardship. Improve your life, but do not improve it so quickly that peace is destroyed. A larger home that requires constant fear is not an improvement. Finer clothing bought with borrowed money is not prosperity. A grand way of living supported by uncertain income is only a costly performance. The disciplined man creates distance between income and expense. That distance becomes capital. It becomes opportunity. It becomes a power to endure. It becomes the ability to make decisions without desperation. The fifth opening is spending according to the payment instead of the full cost. A payment appears small. The object appears available. The man asks, "Can I meet this amount each month?" He does not ask how many months of labor are being promised, how much interest will be paid, what maintenance will be required, or what future choices will be restricted. One small payment may appear harmless, then another is added, then another. Soon, future income has been divided before it arrives. The man works today to serve decisions made in the past. Debt can be useful when it acquires productive value under sound judgment. It may secure a reasonable home, education, land, machinery, or equipment that increases capacity. But debt used for impatience and display consumes future freedom without creating future power. Before borrowing, ask what the debt will produce. Will it increase income? Will it reduce necessary cost? Will it create lasting usefulness? Will it protect a legitimate responsibility? Or will it merely allow you to enjoy now what patience would require you to earn first? Then ask a harder question. What will this obligation prevent me from doing? It may prevent you from leaving unworthy work. It may prevent you from surviving a slow season. It may prevent you from investing in a better opportunity. It may force you to accept poor terms because payments cannot wait. The true cost of debt includes lost freedom. The sixth opening is the refusal to keep an accurate account. Some men are bold in earning and timid in examining. They will work long hours to bring money in, but they will not spend one quiet hour discovering where it went. They know their income approximately. They know their obligations vaguely. They know their waste hardly at all. They claim money disappears mysteriously. It does not. It leaves evidence. A little goes through poor maintenance. A little is lost through unnecessary interest. A little is spent for convenience because preparation was neglected. A little is consumed by repeated pleasures that seem harmless alone. A little is given from guilt. A little is wasted because the man does not compare price with value. Together, the small amounts become a large loss. Write the figures. Record what enters. Record what leaves. Separate necessity, productive expense, enjoyment, debt, waste, giving, and preservation. Know how much is truly available after obligations. Know whether reserve is growing or shrinking. Know whether income is creating assets or merely supporting consumption. Do not fear the account. Fear the confusion that exists without it. A written debt has a boundary. A vague financial fear spreads over the whole future. Once the figures are known, a plan can be formed, expenses can be reduced, terms can be negotiated, additional value can be created, priorities can be established. Use the account to command the next month, not merely to describe the last one. The man who examines money only after it is gone is writing history. The man who directs it before it arrives is shaping his condition. The seventh opening is the inability to say no. Some men lose money because they cannot refuse themselves. Others lose it because they cannot refuse other people. A desire appears and they say yes. A relative asks and guilt says yes. A friend proposes a loan without a plan and fear of rejection says yes. An invitation appears and the need to belong says yes. Every yes must be judged by purpose. Generosity is noble, but generosity without wisdom becomes surrender. A man should help where help can relieve genuine suffering, create opportunity, support education, or restore independence. But he should not destroy his household, neglect obligations, or consume productive capital merely to avoid another person's disappointment. Ask whether the assistance will strengthen or weaken. Does it solve a true emergency? Does it help the person regain capacity? Or does it protect repeated irresponsibility from consequence? Sometimes the most useful answer is no. Say it calmly. Do not become cruel, but do not allow guilt to become the manager of your income. The eighth opening is greed disguised as opportunity. Why do intelligent people place money into plans they cannot explain? Why do they trust a stranger's confidence more than their own lack of knowledge? Because the promise of rapid gain awakens imagination and silences caution. A promoter speaks of unusual returns. He says that chance is rare. He says the decision must be made quickly. He speaks clearly of profit and softly of risk. The man imagines what he will do with the money before the investment has produced anything. In his mind, he already owns the gain. Any warning now feels like an attempt to take it away. Never invest in what you cannot explain in simple language. Ask how value is created. Ask who controls the funds. Ask what can cause loss. Ask how the advisor is paid. Ask whether he profits even if you fail. Ask for records. Ask what experience supports the plan. Ask whether the expected return is reasonable or merely exciting. Honest opportunity can survive examination. Dishonest opportunity requires haste. There will always be another chance for the prepared man. Missing one possible profit is less dangerous than losing capital through impatience. The ninth opening is desperation after loss. A man makes a poor decision and loses money. Pride is injured. He wants immediate recovery. He takes a greater risk, hoping one large gain will erase the mistake. This is how a manageable loss becomes ruin. When loss occurs, stop. Do not chase it with emotion. Study it. Was the cause ignorance, greed, weak association, excessive debt, poor timing, bad management, or refusal to listen? Write the lesson plainly. The money may be gone, but the lesson can become an asset if it changes future conduct. A man who loses money and gains judgment may recover. A man who loses money and then abandons judgment is in deeper danger. Do not force the future to repair the past according to pride's schedule. Rebuild under sounder principles even if the process is slow. The 10th opening is the absence of a reserve. People spend as though work will remain steady, health will remain strong, and no unexpected expense will arrive. Then life changes. Income slows, illness appears, machinery fails, family duty increases. Without reserve, the man must borrow, sell, depend, or accept poor terms. A reserve is not idle money. It is stored choice. It gives you time to think. It protects you from panic. It allows you to refuse dishonorable terms. It preserves a household and strengthens an enterprise during a difficult season. Do not save only what remains after spending. Appetite will make certain that very little remains. Preserve first. Give the future its portion before the present begins making claims. The amount may be small, but the habit is powerful. Every coin preserved proves that immediate desire no longer controls a whole income. Do not wait until you earn more to become disciplined. The habits that govern a fortune are formed while handling smaller amounts. Greater income will not suddenly create character. It will reveal the character already directing the money. The man who stops losing money as fast as he makes it does not begin with a secret investment. He begins with honest self-examination. He discovers which emotions control his spending, which appearances consume his income, which obligations restrict his freedom, and which vague habits keep him dependent. Then he gives money a purpose. He records it. He preserves part of it. He reduces destructive debt. He delays impulse. He refuses foolish display. He studies before risking. He prepares for changing seasons. He gives without surrendering judgment. As these habits take root, his financial condition changes because the man himself has changed. Money no longer enters a house ruled by appetite. It enters a house governed by definite purpose. Some supports life, some meets duty. Some builds reserve, some strengthens earning power. Some becomes productive, some provides measured enjoyment. Some serves beyond the man himself. And once money begins receiving orders of this kind, it no longer disappears as quickly as it arrives. It begins to remain, and what remains becomes the first material from which lasting prosperity can finally be built. But money that merely remains is not yet wealth. A man may stop wasting and still fail to advance if he does not learn how to organize what he preserves. Money must be given more than protection. It must be given productive direction. It must be taught to strengthen the man who earned it, enlarge his usefulness, reduce his dependence, and prepare him for opportunities that cannot be seized by an empty purse. The man who has finally learned to keep part of his income now faces a new danger. He may become so proud of preserving money that he begins fearing every use of it. He refuses necessary improvement, delays wise investment, neglects health, avoids education, and mistakes hoarding for discipline. He keeps the money safe, but gives it no purpose beyond remaining untouched. That is not mastery. It is fear wearing the appearance of caution. Money must be preserved from waste, but it must not be imprisoned without reason. A reserve should protect. Capital should produce. Education should increase ability. Proper enjoyment should restore strength. Generosity should serve wisely. Every portion must perform the work assigned to it. The first law of financial growth is to stop treating all money as though it had the same duty. Money required for rent, food, household needs, taxes, wages, debt, and immediate obligation is not investment capital. Money set aside for emergencies should not be exposed to unnecessary risk. Money needed within a short period should not be placed where it cannot be reached without loss. Money intended for long-term growth should not be consumed because a temporary desire appears. Confusion destroys financial order. A man sees money in one place and assumes it is available for any purpose. He takes business money for personal pleasure. He takes reserve money for a speculative opportunity. He borrows from money intended for taxes because he believes the next payment will replace it. Then several obligations arrive at once and he wonders why prosperity has become pressure. Separate the duties clearly. Let one account meet present living. Let another protect against interruption. Let another support productive growth. Let another meet known future obligations. Let enjoyment have a defined place. Let giving have a defined place. The exact arrangement may be simple, but the boundaries must be firm. Money becomes stronger when each portion knows its work. The second law is to build a reserve before chasing great returns. Many people become impatient with money that appears to be resting. They want every coin to produce the highest possible gain. They see reserve as wasted opportunity. Then an emergency appears and they are forced to borrow at poor terms. Sell a valuable asset at the wrong time or abandon a sound plan because they have no ready means. A reserve is not lazy money. It is disciplined patience. It gives you time when others are desperate. It gives you the power to refuse a bad agreement. It permits you to endure a slow season without selling your future. It protects a household, an enterprise, and a reputation. It allows decisions to be made from judgment rather than fear. The return on reserve is not always shown as interest. Sometimes its return is the debt you did not have to accept. Sometimes it is the business you did not have to close. Sometimes it is the property you did not have to sell cheaply. Sometimes it is the dignity preserved during a period of difficulty. Do not place every coin beyond reach merely because someone promises growth. First, build enough immediate strength to face interruption. Then, long-term decisions can be made calmly. The third law is to invest first in the person who directs the money. A man often searches for an investment outside himself while ignoring the mind that will select, manage, and protect every investment. He wants a profitable enterprise, but he has not developed judgment. He wants greater income, but he has not improved skill. He wants opportunity, but he has not increased usefulness. The first productive asset is trainability. Money placed into knowledge can be wasted if the knowledge is never applied. But useful education properly chosen can continue producing for a lifetime. Study the field in which you earn. Learn the principles of accounting, negotiation, salesmanship, management, human relations, and organized effort. Improve communications. Strengthen health. Develop the ability to solve larger problems. Do not purchase education merely to feel prepared. Choose knowledge that can be converted into action. A shelf of unread books creates no earning power. A course completed without practice changes little. Knowledge becomes valuable only when organized and applied toward a definite purpose. Ask what ability would make you more useful. Ask what weakness is limiting your present income. Ask what skill would reduce dependence upon one position, one customer, or one source of opportunity. Then invest time, effort, and money in strengthening that area. The man who develops his ability carries an asset that cannot be lost through one market decline. Conditions may change, but useful knowledge, sound judgment, courage, and adaptability can create new value. The fourth law is to distinguish productive ownership from expensive possession. A productive asset gives something back. It may produce income, reduce cost, increase efficiency, appreciate under sound conditions, or strengthen an enterprise. An expensive possession may provide comfort or enjoyment, but it usually requires continued expense. There is nothing wrong with owning beautiful or comfortable things when they fit within the plan. But do not call them assets merely because they have value. A costly possession that requires maintenance, insurance, repair, and attention may be a pleasure, not a producer. Clear language protects clear thought. A house may be both shelter and a store of value, but it also carries expense. Land may appreciate, but it may produce nothing for years. Machinery may increase capacity, but only if there is sufficient demand and competent management. A business may appear valuable while consuming more cash than it creates. Ask what the ownership does. What income does it produce? What cost does it reduce? What service does it make possible? What risk does it carry? What attention does it require? What happens if conditions change? The word investment should never be used to excuse poor examination. The fifth law is to avoid placing all financial strength under one uncertainty. A man may become confident in one enterprise, one employer, one customer, one property, one investment, or one partner. Because the arrangement has served him well, he assumes it will always continue. He places everything under the same source of risk. Then one change threatens the whole structure. Diversification does not mean scattering money blindly across many things. Scattered ignorance is not safety. It means refusing to allow one failure to destroy every resource. It means building strength across carefully understood areas where possible. A business owner should avoid depending entirely upon one customer. A worker should continue developing skills that remain useful beyond one position. An investor should understand the danger of placing all capital into one uncertain venture. A family should avoid building obligations that depend upon the most favorable income continuing without interruption. The purpose is not to eliminate all risk. That is impossible. The purpose is to prevent one event from becoming total ruin. The sixth law is to study before trusting. When a man begins preserving money, people begin appearing with plans for it. Some are honest and capable, others are competent and careless. Still others are dishonest. All may speak with enthusiasm. Do not confuse enthusiasm with proof. A polished presentation does not create value. An important acquaintance does not guarantee sound management. A persuasive promise does not reduce risk. The fact that others have invested does not relieve you of the duty to understand. Ask simple questions until the matter becomes clear. How does the enterprise create value? Who controls the money? What experience do the managers possess? What has happened in the past? What obligations already exist? How is profit calculated? How can money be withdrawn? What could cause complete loss? Who gains even if the investor loses? If the answers become vague, defensive, or hurried, caution is justified. Never be ashamed to admit that you do not understand. The man who asks a simple question may protect his fortune. The man who pretends knowledge to avoid embarrassment may pay dearly for appearance. The seventh law is to examine the character of the person before the promise of the opportunity. Many financial losses begin not with bad arithmetic, but with misplaced trust. The figures may appear attractive, but the character controlling the figures is weak. Observe how the person handles small duties. Does he keep appointments? Does he honor agreements? Does he speak truth? When truth is inconvenient, does he accept responsibility for mistakes? Does he treat former partners with fairness? Does he live far beyond visible means? Does he always require urgency? Character leaves signs. A dishonest man may appear competent for a time. A careless man may appear bold. A reckless man may appear visionary. But money placed under poor character is already in danger. Do not enter partnership merely because friendship is pleasant. Friendship and enterprise require different tests. A good companion may be a poor business partner. A capable worker may be a poor manager of capital. A relative may be trustworthy and affectionate and undisciplined in money. Examine ability, character, agreement, and controls separately. The eighth law is to put important agreements into writing. Some men believe written terms show distrust. They prefer a handshake, a friendly understanding, and the belief that honorable people need no formal record. Then memory changes, conditions change, and expectations divide. A written agreement does not destroy trust. It protects clarity. Define ownership. Define responsibility. Define authority. Define how profit and loss are divided. Define what happens if one person wishes to leave. Define what happens if additional capital is required. Define how disagreement will be resolved. The clearer the agreement, the less room there is for imagination to create conflict. Do not sign what you have not read. Do not accept language you do not understand. Do not allow embarrassment to silence questions. If necessary, seek competent advice from someone who has no interest in the transaction. A few hours of careful examination can prevent years of dispute. The ninth law is to understand that high return and high danger often travel together. The man who demands extraordinary gain while expecting complete safety is asking for a contradiction. Greater reward usually requires greater uncertainty, greater knowledge, greater patience, or greater work. If someone promises unusually high profit with almost no danger, examine the promise severely. Greed hears the reward and dismisses the risk. Wisdom studies both. Never risk money that must protect a necessary duty. Do not place rent, household security, emergency reserve, wages, or essential business capital into a venture that may fail. Risk should be measured according to what can be lost without destroying the foundation. This is where many men become ruined. They do not merely take risk. They place the whole structure under risk. One failure then removes everything. Courage does not require total exposure. Courage acts with preparation, accepts reasonable uncertainty, and preserves enough strength to continue if the result is unfavorable. The 10th law is to avoid making permanent decisions under temporary excitement. A sudden gain, inheritance, profitable sale, or excellent business season can create the feeling that prosperity has become certain. The man begins expanding, purchasing, lending, and investing rapidly. He wants the money to change his life at once. Slow down. Sudden money deserves slower judgment because emotion is stronger around it. Place distance between receipt and decision. Let the excitement fade. Review obligations. Protect part of the amount. Consider tax, debt, repair, reserve, and long-term purpose before creating new commitments. Do not allow temporary gain to create permanent expense. A man may receive a large sum once and use it to enlarge his way of living forever. When the money is gone, the higher cost remains. He then struggles to support decisions made during a brief emotional season. One successful year is not proof that every future year will be equal. Build according to what can reasonably endure, not according to the best moment you have ever experienced. The 11th law is to avoid throwing good money after bad. A man enters a venture, it disappoints him. He adds more money because he believes the next amount will rescue the first. The venture continues weakening. He adds again, because abandoning it would force him to admit error. Pride becomes more expensive than the original mistake. Past money is already spent. The question is not how much has been placed into the venture. The question is whether the next amount has a sound chance of producing value. Ask, would I enter this arrangement today if I were not already involved? If the answer is no, continued investment may be an attempt to protect pride rather than capital. Persistence is admirable when directed toward a sound purpose. Stubbornness is not persistence. Stubbornness refuses facts because surrender feels humiliating. Know when to repair, when to reorganize, and when to stop. The 12th law is to learn from loss without becoming ruled by it. Financial loss can create fear that destroys future judgment. After one bad experience, a man may refuse every opportunity. He protects himself so completely that money never grows. He mistakes paralysis for wisdom. The lesson of loss should not be never act again. The lesson should be specific. What caused the loss? Was it insufficient knowledge? Weak character in a partner, excessive debt, poor timing, lack of demand, careless records, greed, failure to maintain control? Correct the cause. If you trusted without examination, strengthen examination. If you risk too much, reduce exposure. If you entered an unknown field, study before returning. If you ignored warning, create a process that requires independent review. A precise lesson creates progress. A vague fear creates stagnation. The 13th law is to protect the source of income while building additional sources. Some men become so excited about investment that they neglect the work producing the capital. They spend hours chasing distant opportunities while quality declines in the enterprise already supporting them. Customers notice, employers notice, income weakens. Do not abandon the well while searching for another stream. Protect reputation, improve service, maintain relationships, continue studying the field, strengthen the work that currently pays you while gradually building other productive sources. Additional income should grow from discipline, not distraction. A man who starts 5 ventures and gives proper attention to none may feel ambitious while creating 5 forms of disorder. Concentration remains essential. Build one sound foundation, then expand where knowledge, capital, and management are sufficient. The 14th law is to preserve reputation as carefully as capital. A trusted name creates financial advantage. People are willing to cooperate, lend, purchase, recommend, and enter agreements when they believe the man will keep his word. Trust reduces friction. One dishonest gain may destroy years of accumulated confidence. Do not misrepresent quality. Do not hide material facts. Do not promise what cannot reasonably be delivered. Do not delay payment without communication. Do not use another person's ignorance as an opportunity to take unfair advantage. Money gained by injuring trust may appear profitable in the moment, but the hidden costs can be enormous. Customers disappear. Partners withdraw. Credit weakens. Opportunities close. A man may rebuild money more easily than reputation. Let your word become an asset. Let people know that an agreement with you will be respected even when circumstances become inconvenient. This does not mean accepting unfair terms. It means dealing plainly, honestly, and consistently. The 15th law is to maintain what you own. Many people lose money through neglect rather than extravagance. They purchase property, tools, machinery, clothing, or equipment and fail to care for it. Small repairs are postponed. Records are ignored. Health is neglected. Then replacement becomes necessary sooner than it should. Maintenance preserves capital. A A small repair made early may prevent a large expense. A tool cared for may serve years longer. A property maintained may retain value. Health protected may preserve earning power. A reputation maintained may continue opening doors. The man who neglects what he owns will always need more money to replace what discipline could have preserved. Treat possessions with respect. Not because objects deserve worship, but because waste is an enemy of purpose. The 16th law is to give money a constructive mission beyond accumulation. A man may become skilled at keeping and multiplying money, yet remain poor in purpose. He begins measuring every decision by gain alone. He views every relationship as an opportunity and every hour as something to sell. Wealth grows, but life becomes narrow. Money should strengthen life, not consume it. Let it protect family. Let it create useful work. Let it educate. Let it support worthy enterprise. Let it relieve genuine need. Let it provide time for thought, service, worship, rest, and meaningful relationships. The purpose of money is not merely to make the account larger. It is to increase the power to live according to sound values. A man who accumulates without purpose may become afraid to use anything. Every expense feels like loss. Every act of generosity feels threatening. He possesses wealth but cannot enjoy, direct, or release it. That is another form of poverty. The 17th law is to review your financial structure regularly. Do not assume that a good plan remains good forever. Income changes, family needs change, business conditions change, risk changes. Investments that were once sound may weaken. Insurance may become inadequate. Debt may require different handling. Set aside time for examination. Review income, expense, reserve, debt, ownership, agreements, protection, and future goals. Ask whether the present structure still serves the purpose. Ask where dependence is too great. Ask where waste has returned. Ask whether any investment is being held only because pride refuses to change direction. Financial order must be maintained, not merely created once. The 18th law is to remain teachable after success. A man makes several good decisions and begins believing he can no longer be wrong. He stops seeking counsel. He dismisses warning. He enters unfamiliar fields with a confidence earned somewhere else. Success in one area does not make a man wise in every area. Continue learning. Continue asking questions. Continue examining facts. Invite honest disagreement from competent people. The advisor who always agrees may be protecting his position rather than your capital. Do not surrender judgment, but do not isolate it. The strongest financial decisions often emerge from a combination of personal responsibility, accurate information, and honest counsel. And through all these laws, one principle must remain at the center. Money should increase your command over life, not increase life's command over you. If greater income creates greater fear, something is wrong. If ownership creates constant anxiety, the structure may be too large or poorly understood. If investment requires dishonesty, the gain is too expensive. If generosity destroys duty, it has lost wisdom. If accumulation removes peace, money has changed from servant to master. The aim is not merely to possess more. The aim is to become capable of directing more without losing judgment, integrity, balance, or purpose. When a man separates his money by duty, builds reserve, develops ability, studies ownership, limits exposure, examines character, writes agreements, measures risk, controls excitement, learns from loss, protects income, preserves reputation, maintains assets, and gives wealth a worthy mission, his financial life begins taking on structure. Money no longer depends entirely upon his next hour of labor. Some of it protects, some produces, some grows, some creates opportunity, some strengthens others. The whole begins working together. And once this structure is established, the man approaches the next great test of prosperity. Whether he can continue increasing wealth without allowing wealth to enlarge his pride, weaken his discipline, or separate him from the principles that made the increase possible. And once a man begins increasing wealth, he meets a danger more subtle than poverty. Poverty can frighten him into effort. Wealth can persuade him that effort is no longer necessary. Poverty exposes weakness quickly. Wealth can hide weakness behind comfort, praise, influence, and appearance. A man who was once careful may become careless because success has made him feel protected. He forgets that the same laws which helped him rise must continue governing him after he has risen. The first danger of growing wealth is pride. Pride tells a man that his success proves every judgment is sound. It causes him to forget the help he received, the risk that did not mature, the favorable conditions that supported him, and the mistakes from which others protected him. He begins believing that he alone created every result. Then he stops listening. A proud man becomes expensive to himself. He rejects warning because warning feels like disrespect. He refuses correction because correction threatens the image he has built. He enters unfamiliar fields because earlier success has convinced him that ability in one area gives him wisdom in all areas. He begins making large decisions with less preparation than he once gave to small ones. Do not allow success to become evidence that you can no longer be wrong. The larger the decision, the greater the need for calm examination. The more money involved, the less room there is for vanity. Invite honest counsel. Ask the difficult question. Listen to the person who brings an unwelcome fact. A man who protects you from error is more valuable than 10 people who protect your pride. The second danger is expansion without control. A business begins succeeding. Demand rises. The owner becomes excited. He opens new branches, hires too quickly, builds heavily, and enters markets he does not understand. He believes movement proves growth. But growth is not measured by size alone. It is measured by strength. A larger, weak structure is not stronger. It is merely more exposed. Before expanding, ask whether the present operation is orderly. Are the records accurate? Is profit real? Is quality consistent? Are responsible people prepared? Is there enough reserve? Can the system continue without your attention at every moment? If the foundation is confused, expansion multiplies confusion. Do not enlarge what you have not learned to govern. Many enterprises do not fail because the original idea was poor. They fail because success encouraged the owner to move faster than his judgment, capital, and organization could support. He wanted to appear large before he had become strong. Let growth follow proof. Let each new step be supported by experience, demand, capital, and competent management. Expansion should be the result of order, not the substitute for it. The third danger is confusing activity with productivity. A wealthy or successful man may become surrounded by meetings, letters, travel, visitors, reports, invitations, and constant decisions. His days appear full. Yet the work that creates the greatest value may receive very little attention. He becomes busy maintaining importance rather than producing results. Ask what activities truly serve the central purpose. Which meetings could be shorter? Which duties belong to someone else? Which reports provide useful knowledge and which merely create the appearance of control? Which commitments were accepted because refusal felt uncomfortable? Wealth often brings more demands than one man should obey. The disciplined man protects his best hours. He gives them to thought, planning, study, important decisions, and the work only he can perform. He does not allow the whole day to be consumed by matters that are urgent to others, but unimportant to his definite purpose. A crowded schedule can become another form of waste. The fourth danger is neglecting the source while enjoying the fruit. A man may become so occupied with investments, new ventures, and public recognition that he stops caring for the enterprise, skill, or reputation that created his wealth. He assumes the original source will continue producing without attention. But every source requires maintenance. Customers must still receive value. Workers must still receive leadership. Quality must still be protected. Knowledge must still be renewed. A reputation must still be earned through present conduct, not merely remembered from past performance. Do not live entirely upon yesterday's strength. The market does not owe you continued success because you succeeded before. People do not remain loyal merely because your name was once respected. Value must continue. Trust must continue. Service must continue. The fifth danger is allowing wealth to weaken personal discipline. A man who once watched every expense may begin tolerating waste. He who once arrived prepared may begin depending upon reputation. He who once studied carefully may begin speaking from assumption. Comfort removes the pressure that once kept him alert. This is why voluntary discipline is necessary after success. Continue doing certain things because they strengthen character, not because poverty forces them. Keep records even when the account is large. Compare price with value. Maintain possessions. Review agreements. Study new conditions. Keep promises. Arrive on time. Preserve the habits that made others trust you. Do not wait for crisis to restore discipline. The man who becomes careless in comfort may later be forced to relearn discipline under loss. It is wiser to remain exact while conditions are favorable. The sixth danger is excessive personal consumption. As wealth grows, appetite may grow faster. The man tells himself that he has earned a finer life. Perhaps he has. But improvement must remain under purpose. There is no natural end to luxury. When luxury becomes identity, one comfort leads to another. What once seemed extraordinary becomes ordinary. The man must spend more to feel the same pleasure. His standard of living rises so high that even great income begins to feel insufficient. He becomes rich in possessions and poor in freedom. Know the difference between enjoyment and dependence. Enjoyment can be accepted or postponed. Dependence demands continuation. If the loss of a certain comfort would destroy your peace, the comfort may have gained too much authority. Define enough. This does not mean ending ambition. A man may continue building great wealth while keeping personal appetite within reasonable limits. He may direct surplus toward enterprise, education, employment, service, and lasting ownership rather than endless display. The man who can control appetite after becoming prosperous possesses a greater form of wealth than the man who must continually enlarge consumption. The seventh danger is using money to control people. Wealth gives a man influence. He may begin lending, giving, hiring, or investing in ways that make others dependent upon his approval. He confuses obedience with loyalty and dependence with respect. This corrupts both giver and receiver. Money should create opportunity, not submission. Help should increase capacity where possible. Employment should be fair. Agreements should be clear. Generosity should not become a chain. A man who uses money to control others eventually surrounds himself with people who hide truth, flatter weakness, and fear independence. He may feel powerful, but he has purchased dishonesty. Use wealth to strengthen capable people. Reward merit. Teach responsibility. Open doors where character and ability justify opportunity. Do not require humiliation as payment for assistance. The eighth danger is poor association. As a man becomes successful, more people seek access to him. Some come with value, honesty, and shared purpose. Others come for favor, money, prestige, or opportunity. He must learn to distinguish between association that strengthens judgment and association that weakens it. Beware of the person who agrees with everything. Flattery is pleasant, but it is financially dangerous. The flatterer studies what the successful man enjoys hearing. He praises reckless expansion as courage. He calls waste generosity. He calls pride confidence. He protects his own access by protecting the man from correction. Keep people near you who can speak plainly. A sound mastermind is not a circle of admiration. It is an alliance of knowledge, character, courage, and shared purpose. Each member should contribute something real. Agreement should come from examination, not fear. If no one around you can safely disagree, you are not receiving counsel. You are receiving performance. The ninth danger is keeping too much control. A successful man may believe that no one can perform the work as well as he can. At first, this belief may contain truth. But if he refuses to teach, delegate, and develop others, the entire structure remains dependent upon his personal strength. That is not freedom. It is a larger form of employment. Delegation does not mean abandonment. It means choosing capable people, defining responsibility, providing authority, setting standards, and reviewing results. The leader remains accountable, but he does not remain attached to every minor decision. Develop people before you desperately need them. Teach how decisions are made. Explain the principles behind the work. Allow others to carry real responsibility. Let them make small mistakes from which they can learn. A man who takes back every duty at the first error teaches dependence, not leadership. The strongest enterprise is not one in which the owner is necessary everywhere. It is one in which his principles, standards, and purpose continue operating through trained people. The 10th danger is failing to plan for succession. A man builds wealth, property, enterprise, and influence, yet keeps all knowledge within his own mind. Records are incomplete. Agreements are unclear. Family members do not understand the structure. No one knows what should happen if he becomes unable to lead. This is not privacy. It is disorder postponed. Prepare the structure to continue. Keep accurate records. Clarify ownership. Write instructions. Establish legal arrangements. Teach the people who may carry responsibility. Do not leave them to discover your intentions during grief or crisis. Wealth without succession planning may become conflict. Property may be divided badly. Enterprises may collapse. Relationships may be destroyed by uncertainty. Years of disciplined work can be weakened because one final responsibility was neglected. A man should ask not only what am I building, but also can it continue without confusion when I am gone. The 11th danger is failing to educate the next generation. Money transferred without wisdom may disappear faster than it was created. The heir knows the value of pleasure, but not the cost of production. He receives the fruit without understanding the roots. Do not give wealth without teaching stewardship. Teach the difference between income and capital. Teach that productive assets must be maintained. Teach that generosity requires judgment. Teach that reputation, work, and character are greater inheritances than money alone. Give responsibility gradually. Let the younger person make decisions with small amounts. Let consequences teach while the cost remains manageable. Do not remove every struggle. Some struggle develops judgment, patience, and respect for value. The aim is not to make life unnecessarily hard. The aim is to prevent comfort from producing weakness. The 12th danger is allowing fear to replace purpose. Some men lose money quickly. Others become so afraid of losing it that they stop living constructively. They refuse every opportunity, distrust every person, avoid every reasonable risk, and measure every day by what has been preserved. Fear can make a man financially cautious and spiritually poor. Money must be protected, but protection is not the highest purpose. Wealth should increase useful action. It should create employment, education, enterprise, security, and service. It should allow the man to support worthy aims without destroying himself. If fear prevents every intelligent use of money, money has become the master. The disciplined man distinguishes between risk and recklessness. He does not risk what duty requires him to protect. But he also does not demand absolute certainty before taking any constructive step. No enterprise, investment, or worthy ambition comes without uncertainty. Study, prepare, limit exposure, then act when purpose and evidence justify action. The 13th danger is greed after security has been achieved. At first, a man wants money to escape dependence. Later, he wants more to prove superiority. The original aim is forgotten. Accumulation becomes a contest without end. Greed does not ask how much is useful. It asks how much exists elsewhere. The man begins seeing every relationship as an opportunity, every rival as a threat, and every loss as a personal humiliation. He becomes unable to enjoy what he has because his attention remains fixed upon what another man possesses. Ambition and greed are not the same. Ambition seeks greater ability, service, creation, and achievement. Greed seeks more for the sake of more. Ambition can build. Greed eventually consumes the builder. Return to the definite purpose. Why did you want prosperity? Was it to protect family, create freedom, build enterprise, develop talent, or serve? If the purpose has disappeared beneath accumulation, wealth may be growing while life becomes smaller. The 14th danger is neglecting health and peace while building wealth. A man may sacrifice sleep, health, family, and inner order for financial increase. He says he will restore these things later, but some losses cannot be purchased back easily. Money should support life, not devour it. Guard the body through which all work must be performed. Preserve time for thought, rest, worship, family, and honest companionship. A man who owns much but cannot sleep peacefully has paid too much for ownership. This does not mean avoiding hard work. Great achievement often requires unusual effort, but effort must have direction. Endless strain without renewal weakens judgment, and weak judgment eventually threatens wealth itself. The 15th danger is forgetting contribution. Money becomes more meaningful when it moves through a man toward useful ends. This does not require reckless giving. It requires intentional service. Support education. Strengthen enterprise. Help capable people begin. Improve the conditions of those who work with you. Contribute to causes that create genuine value. Let part of your prosperity solve problems beyond your own comfort. Contribution protects the successful man from becoming imprisoned within self-concern. The man who receives continually and gives nothing of value eventually becomes poor in spirit. Every decision turns inward. Every expense becomes personal. Every relationship becomes measured by advantage. Service restores proportion. The final test of wealth is not how much a man can gather, but how much good he can direct without losing judgment. When pride remains controlled, expansion remains orderly, discipline remains active, appetite remains governed, association remains honest, succession remains prepared, fear remains under purpose, and service remains present, wealth becomes stable. It no longer depends upon excitement. It no longer exists merely for display. It becomes a system of protection, production, opportunity, and contribution. Then the man reaches a higher form of prosperity. He can earn without becoming greedy, preserve without becoming fearful, spend without becoming careless, invest without becoming reckless, and give without becoming weak. And when he can do that, money no longer tests only his intelligence. It reveals the full measure of his character. Because the final question is no longer whether he can make wealth, but whether he can remain master of himself after wealth has given him the power to become almost anything he chooses.